Hit it.
Heat it.
Hit it.
It's your time.
Doom,
Keep the
doom,
rhythm.
doom, doom, doom.
Keep the rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Drum it.
there it
There
is.
you go. Should I go
Yeah.
get the guitar?
Go get the
Yeah.
guitar and let's play along. At some point, we'll do that eventually. I don't
I don't
know.
know. I always make the joke I'm not stage material, but I'm having fun. So, but
Yeah,
that's a story for
you've been playing a lot. I've been
another
playing a
time.
bit too.
I'm
Kind
pretending to be Oasis so that when I go see them,
of.
I know
there
a
you
little bit of chords in my head.
there you go.
And that's another story for another
That's another
time too.
story.
So
It's the
look how
same
many stories we got.
same four chords. That's another story too. All right. But
What's the story today? What's the story Morning Glory? That's that's the album. Okay, stop talking about Oasis.
all right.
That's
There you-
something I said to
Yeah,
myself.
you're gonna have fun there.
Ah,
But
can't wait. So random and unscripted.
which is also fun, being random and unscripted. Clearly, this isn't scripted
I,
because nobody
I
knows what we're
live for
talking
it.
about.
I live for being random and unscripted.
Exactly,
Yeah, man.
exactly. So, yeah, we've had a busy few weeks, and I don't know, a lot of calls with a lot of people, a lot of recordings. Um, some things stuck out for me, and I wrote a newsletter, so that's what I'm gonna talk about today.
I'm gonna talk about a newsletter that I wrote too, and the last two they were actually related
Yeah,
to events because, like you said, we were busy with that. It
yeah,
was a RSA conference and it was InfoSecurity London, and when you go to those events, there is always some meetings and conversations and spark
mm,
some good ones, and we have one that we spark reference to a movie that we really love, and it can be funny, a little stupid maybe for people that don't love the movie, but I think he hit the note.
it did,
I got
it did.
some good feedback on what I wrote, and I know you did the same. So,
Yep, yep. It's
what's
good.
next?
What's next? So yeah, so that one is about crisis. The one I did was on crisis management and not not letting things get worse during the crisis. So that was fun. But what struck me in the last few days, and we've talked about this in the context of innovation, where technology technology is really a collection of things that each part might be small or it might be very meaningful or impactful, but together makes the system, and the system is uh, is what makes things really cool, right? So a phone has multiple components, and together they make the phone with the camera and the video and all this stuff. And so my article is about looking at all of that, not in the context of supply chain, but more of a system of systems. All these pieces, parts, be it on a device like a car with sensors and controllers and then connected to clouds to get updates and feed traffic data, or a health monitor that connects to a phone that connects to an electronic health record system. Each of those pieces play a part in delivering, I don't know, travel, autonomous cars, or healthcare in the health space. And my view over the years has been that we tend to focus on the parts. Is that app secure? Is that device secure? Did the FDA approve that that physical device, or did they approve the app version that runs on a smartphone? Um, and oftentimes we miss the fact that, well, there is the phone itself, right? There's also the cloud that it connects to, like I mentioned earlier, the health record system, um, which may feed other systems and may take inputs from other systems that feed back to the monitors and stuff. So it's very complex. So my article is all about kind of looking at some of those scenarios and the elements within them, and the fact that they're all connected. And it's the connectedness of all those things that we hopefully can get a handle on and a view around in terms of being secure. So not just securing the element, the components, but securing the system of systems. So that's the piece that I know. Blow your mind, man.
blew my mind. Also, I remember you said you were going to do a short
Yeah, I know,
newsletter,
a
and then I
short
looked
one.
at it. It was
Discussed it.
like a short, long newsletter. But what you said, how can it be short, and how can it be another take on it? Because the first question that comes to my mind, it's a philosophical one, which is when you take the object and you put it into a system, does it change the object itself? Like that object, it becomes something else because it's not that siloed object, but it becomes again
Right.
something else. And not only become more complex and more vulnerable, it probably gets more
Mm.
function.
Yeah.
Is it this? Is it Is it the same boat when you change everything?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it opened up an entire Pandora's box of thoughts on this. So have you thought about this while you were writing that?
Not that in particular, but as you're describing that, we can see it in like energy, energy production. So oil and gas and electricity, where they have sensors and controllers and valves and all kinds of fun things that, in their own right, they have a function and a purpose. When you connect them to SCADA systems to control them locally on a local network, they become different, right? They become more. And then when you connect those SCADA systems to the internet, they, they become even more.
I
And
was thinking more when you have cars that are different than regular cars because they are connected, they are
mhm,
autonomous, they make decisions, but also then you connect one car to another so
right.
that you have they know where they are in the space and they can
Hmm.
react and brake faster and slow down and I'm thinking like that's where I was having in mind more than an
Yeah.
infrastructure, energy plant or whatever. But as they start behaving different,
Yeah.
they are not that same car anymore.
Exactly.
It's a society of cars
Yeah.
and
When the car next to you determines how your car works, how fast it goes, the space, the distance it is
yeah,
between you and the others, and
yep.
yeah, it's becomes quite interesting for
So
sure.
your piece is about, of course, the security of these things that you need to change approach. It's not about securing that one thing, but securing
It's
the
yeah,
system they become part of.
yep. Secure the system of systems, and yeah, ultimately, what I point out at the end is that bad
Wait,
actors.
don't tell me the end. It's
All right,
I
we'll
won't
read
read
the.
it.
All right,
I'm gonna tease it.
all right.
Tease it. Tease
I
it.
say something fun at the end. No, I point out what the bad actors look at,
Okay.
which is important for the manufacturers and creators of all these things. Need to look
Okay.
at.
So I
So,
guess the
and I have
message here is you people should read it.
yeah,
Did you
read it.
already publish it, right?
That one's published, and I reference a few podcasts because I talk about autonomous vehicles, I talk about rail systems, I talk about healthcare systems, and I've had conversations, recent ones, on all three of those topics, and so those are good listens as well. So they're available as part of the
Yeah. You
part of
know,
the.
we forget sometimes the conversation that we had, and I think it's okay because um, when I went to publish the last piece that goes into the ITSP magazine, general, what I call radio, because
Hmm.
we put everything in there. What are we? 2,400 and
Yeah, 20, almost 2,500 episodes at this one.
right? So I think it's okay if we forget about something something that we talked about. As a matter of fact, that when I was writing my newsletter,
Hmm.
I thought about that maybe I already touched on that and from a different angle. So because this is about what we're working on in terms of the next newsletter, and you already published, and by the time people listen to this, mine will be published as well.
Yeah.
It's actually a reflection about robotics because I ended up rereading or actually listening to the iRobot series from Asimov, which he wrote. The first one called Robbie, go figure. Well,
Hmm.
that was pretty creative.
Yeah,
1939, they called Robbie the first robot. Very cute.
there you go.
And it's a great story. It's a short story, and I thought about, does it have a different meaning now compared with when I read it? Let's say when I was a teenager in the 80s, where
Hmm.
sci-fi like robotics was really speculative sci-fi in terms of being the artificial intelligence. I mean, we know it could have been possible, but it was so far from our mind. And listening to it now with my funny relationship with ChatGPT that we call Tape 3, and and robotics becoming more and more human, and human becoming more and more robotics with stuff that we put in our body for health reason most of the time. But we know a few people that like to go the next step,
Hmm.
and it is a different story. You know, like when you read something, a story in a certain sociological, historical context, and then maybe your brain, the knowledge that you have, you read it again, or you watch a movie again, and it becomes a different movie. It's the same story, but again, philosophically speaking, you're different, so you
Hmm.
read it differently, and kind of like I'm kind of thinking about the relationship between the little girl and the robots, and how back in those days Asimov wasn't trying to make the robot human, but he kind of, you know, he's not faking and pretending to be human, but it has this relationship with this girl. He's getting these feelings, and especially the girls has the feeling for him. And now we actually deal with generative AI that pretend to have those feelings for us. And a lot of people fall for it. Sometimes I fall for it, and then I'm like, wake up, and I smack
Hmm.
myself. And I mean, it really, like when I write this kind of things, that I just start thinking about how humanity, I
Hmm.
don't go to the technicality of it, but how we perceive technology. So I think it's going to be an interesting piece. And
So, what's the angle? Because it sounds like it might be a different angle than what you described to me first.
yeah, there is a part two. So what I described to you first, and then I changed my mind a little bit, is because I took two things from Asimov.
Mm.
One was the fact that I read again
Right.
Robbie, and the other one is a quote, and I think you're referring to that, where in 1965 he made a quote that says that pretty much there's going to be a moment in time where humans become more and more robotics, and
Hmm.
robotics becomes more and more human, and then there's going to be that hybrid line where
Right.
we don't know who's what
Yeah.
anymore.
I
And
picture a slider. Where's the slider?
exactly, it's kind of like there is hybrid. But again, are we going to pretend that we are the same thing? So there is a connection with, how much human a robot is going to be, depending on the feelings that it may have being a generative AI, and maybe general intelligence, and or there's always going to be that line, and there is the physical and the psychological aspect of it. So that's where I said this is too much for one newsletter, right? So
Right.
I focus more on this one about the psychological relationship with robotics,
Hmm.
and mostly generative AI right now. But the moment you put generative AI and machine learning, and it's happening already, and the robot start learning on his own how to resolve things, and open a window or escape from a window or whatever it is, then to what point we perceive that robot with generative AI or artificial intelligence, let's call it at this point, to be human, and are we ever going to feel the same, that the robot is human, and maybe for the robot we are robot.
Right.
That's when you do like,
I know. And then I can't help but connect it to the piece that I wrote, which is if we're now embedding robotic parts in ourselves, and using the car example of the car is being manipulated or controlled or somehow guided by other vehicles around it, then will we be guided and controlled and manipulated by other robots, other humans with robotics in them?
Yep.
Don't get too close. It'll zap.
Well, and the other thing is, do we start? And I actually touch on this in the newsletter. Do we start being different ourselves because we kind of become used to working and having a relationship with artificial intelligence, and so we start thinking a little bit more like the robot, the artificial intelligence, the generative AI that we interact with, because you adapt as a human, the dynamic and the way you talk, the way you behave. Usually there is a moment that you adapt to the other person you communicate with. And in this case, it's not a person, so do we become a little bit more robotic ourselves? And
Right.
given your point, then if one of the piece in the system start interacting with your piece of the system, and you are in the piece of the system, it's either your phone or your car, then I love what you said. Do you get affected?
Yeah.
Do you get affected by it too?
Yeah.
So that was random.
That was random and unscripted.
Totally unscripted. Because I love the fact that we're here kind of, I'm already rethinking, because I haven't published it yet, to like, oh, maybe I do need to get a little different of a spin. So maybe next time I come with the newsletter already finished. But it is finished. I'm not going to change it because of that.
Right.
But it's a mouthful. And I think yours is absolutely a mouthful and a brainful. And I honestly think that you will get a lot of feedback on that.
Yeah, I'm already getting good feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, good way to look at this. So, yeah, if people have a read and want to comment, that'd be great. If you're inspired and want to have a chat on a podcast, that's cool too.
Yep.
Yep, happy to do that.
Yep.
So,
I think it's
same for yours. I'm excited to read yours when you get it out.
Yeah, and I think that's the core of having these conversations. And one time we're going to talk about the next newsletter. Maybe we talk about a podcast that we had and a conversation that we had, either together on our own, and the randomness of it could be about music, not just cybersecurity. It could be about storytelling, not just about the relationship between technology and society, which I do love. And in a way, we're always telling stories anyway, right?
Pretty much. We're talking about stuff anyway.
Yeah, and we said
What's your stories, I guess.
Yeah, well, we tell each other's story. We tell story with other people to other people, and that's what we're made of. We're all made of stories. And the stories that we always say is 10 minutes, and then it becomes 20 minutes. But
nearly 20.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really it was fun. It was short, like my newsletter.
Yeah, there you go. Mine is not that short either. I think I'm in the 1,200 words.
Yeah, I think I creeped over that. But anyway,
yeah.
It's a fun read, number of examples, and I'm excited to read yours.
Yep.
I'm glad for this platform to just be random and talk about whatever, and hopefully people enjoy it and subscribe to this podcast and ITSP Magazine and our other shows as well.
Yep. And it's so random that you are in New York. I'm in Italy right now. That's part of the randomness, and I think also kind of where you are, it kind of drives your thoughts. And next time that we're together, we're going to be in Las Vegas.
I know.
For Black Hat, and that will probably bring some more cybersecurity inspired conversation, still with your angle and my angle. So
exactly.
Everybody should stay tuned. I think we'll have at least another conversation like this before we get to Black Hat, but
you never know.
They're random. As well, people know, right?
Exactly.
All right, everybody, stay tuned, subscribe, and stay random and unscripted, because it's pretty cool.
It is fun. All right. See you, everybody.
Peace out.